Hello and welcome. I am Scarpalock, and this is City of Heroes on the Rebirth server. We're back to finish off the Nosferatu mission. I set it to +0, and then I got in here and realized because I leveled, the mission's only level 44, so it's actually a -1 mission. So Nosferatu should be absolutely no problem over here. We should be able to kick his butt. Still going to do, kind of best practices and take the minion out first, but we're not going to need to use build up here to fight the minion because he's just going to die a horrible death. And then we should be able to smack Nosferatu around quite well. So now you're going to see more what this was supposed to be like as a fight, the way they designed it. My guess is he's probably not even going to be able to overwhelm my instant healing. That's my guess. Probably won't even need focused accuracy on him. Look at the difference. A level 44 boss against me does versus a level 40, what was he, 7? Elite boss. Look at this. This is not even a challenge. What I probably should have done was dropped it just to like up +2 instead of +3. Look at that. I didn't even need to use anything but instant healing. And the rest of the mission I just ran through because I'm not fighting blues. It's silly. So we'll just go through and just defeat as many minions as we have to finish this off. And then we will continue our story arc. I don't know if this is going to finish the story arc or not. If it does, we'll play around a little bit. And maybe what we'll do is go into the character creator and we'll talk about demon summoning, which is what I've pretty much decided to do at this point. Not sure the gender of the character, but one of the things I decided as I was running through here is I absolutely want to try to get a character whose concept includes the ability to cast a magic spell or something that makes them invisible. I want to get invisibility as a pool power. And the reason I want to do that is I want to be able to stealth through missions in a case like this where I would have had to battle my way through a bunch of blue cons to try to get to Nosferatu, which is sort of boring, right? The only reason we had to change the difficulty is because Nosferatu was a little too powerful for this character at +3, right? It's mainly just his resistance and how much he was able to heal himself that did it. So we call our buddy, and good, the story arc's not over, so we can continue this arc. He says, that's how you do it, Tiger Shrike. Nosferatu is in the Zig. So now he says he's found out a bunch of interesting things from Nosferatu's interrogation. It seems that Nemesis had abducted him specifically for his knowledge of life-extending techniques, of course, because Nemesis is like Voldemort. He doesn't want to die, right? According to Nosferatu, Nemesis is pretty much a 180-year-old brain and glandular system being kept alive by powered armor. So what I want you to do is hit the base where the Nemesis harvested Richter technology, because they're trying to figure out like how is Nemesis doing this, right? So now what I want to do, I gotta whoa, no, I thought I took it by accident. I gotta rearrange these inspirations because I don't need them this way. Boom, 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 boom. I usually do double accuracies, right? So what I'm gonna do is move the inspirations that I want into the position that I want. Oh, hello. And then all the ones that are in the wrong position, I'll just use them quickly. Yeah, the ambushes are kind of a waste when they're +0. You could see how easy the game would be if it were +0. We definitely don't want it like that. Okay. And so we need to go to BRICKSTOWN, but before we do that, we got to go back to Steel Canyon and reset our mission difficulty. So let's go ahead and do that. And while we do, I'll talk a little bit about character concept for the next character. It's going to be a demon summoner. I think I'm pretty convinced on that. I wanted to do Beastmaster because beasts are really cool, but the Beastmaster concept I have is a noble heroic character. I just don't want to use that concept. I don't want to use Beastmaster for a villain. It's just not the concept I have. Lord knows when I'll ever play another Mastermind. Probably years from now if the server is still up, which it almost certainly won't be. I don't know if I'll ever play another Mastermind, but I really just don't want to do an Evil Beastmaster. So we'll do an Evil Demon Summoner. That seems to make a lot more sense. And one of the things I definitely want to do is, as I said, get like the stealth and invisibility powers, because I want to be able to stealth through missions in cases like this where I have to kind of, troubleshoot the difficulty setting, or maybe you get disconnected partway through a mission and you find out you really only needed to beat the final boss and you've already beaten the whole mission, and then you've got to do it over again for some reason. And if you don't have hide or stealth or invisibility, you really would have to do the whole thing over again no matter what. And the other thing is, I've done all these missions and a lot of these missions, and I've done the game a lot now, so I don't need to experience every moment of every mission. At this point, there's really no reason, except when the mission calls for defeat all, to defeat all, right? So, if it's just clicking on glowies, not that I'm going to invisible through and only click on 4 glowies and that's going to be the mission, but what I really like with this character is I'm able to say, I'm going to fight the bosses, I'm going to fight the lieutenants, I'm going to fight the snipers, I'll fight a few guys here and there, I'll fight some guys for fun, but if the mission is too big and it's too huge and I don't want to do the whole thing, and I just want to click on the glowies and get it done now because we've gone through these big levels and I'm tired, I can do that if I have invisibility. So I think we're going to get that fairly early on for our mastermind. It'll also be really helpful because it will help keep the aggro down. They don't have self-defense like these guys have. Now we need... Oh, the Ricky can see me. Right. Forgot about that. Yep, not... Alright, let's get back into the Ricky mindset. I'm thinking Nemesis. So the Ricky mindset is everybody but the drone goes first, because the drones are utterly harmless and they probably can't even overcome my natural regeneration at this point. So you don't want to waste, and now I came in here without a bunch of accuracies, but you don't want to waste time fighting these guys getting deflect, like this, right? While conscripts are beating on you that you could have already killed. What's my chance to hit this guy? 27%. So it's not even worth attacking him unless you have buildup. I mean, literally, you should just walk away and fight somebody else. Alright, now these guys don't have a drone. So we can assassinate the Guardian. Yeah, I'm not sure what they're doing fighting each other. If this is maybe the Loyalists versus the Reconstructorists, or whatever, Restructuralists, or whatever they're called. The Traditionalists versus the Restructurists. So then we're going to have to think if I'm a beast, if I'm a demon summoner. So now that's obviously magic. And if I'm demon summoning, then what's the secondary going to be? Not sure about that. We're going to have to look at the secondaries and see what kind of evil thing, maybe some sort of a fire type based secondary. And so you're this evil like creature from the 9 hells or whatever. I think that actually sounds pretty cool. Maybe I could look up some characters from Dante's Inferno or something like that to name the character. Yeah, that might be really cool. I've never actually read the Inferno, but it might be something to be worth reading in translation. Actually, when I was in high school, I actually took Italian. My family's Italian. And so I took it because I figured, like my grandmother could help me translate things or whatever. And, well, first of all, she passed away when I was in 10th grade. But even before that, she couldn't really help me because she spoke a dialect, and they were teaching me, like, the non-dialect type, sort of formal Roman Italian. And my grandmother spoke, I don't know, Neapolitan or something. And so her dialect, they chop the ends off of a lot of words. So, for instance, the meat prosciutto. My grandmother would say prosciutto, right? Or the cheese provolone, she would say provolone. And so she chopped the words, like the last syllable off a lot of the words, which we were taught you never ever do in Italian. And so, like, I actually got into arguments with her, telling her she wasn't saying things right. Um, let's start using some of these things so we can maybe get some inspirations, some yellow inspirations to drop into our bucket. I mean, there's no way to make the yellows drop in, but if you use everything that's not yellow, eventually you'll end up with some yellows. You don't need green. But that's not going to happen if you don't have some spaces. So you want to leave some space in your bucket to allow the yellows to drop in. And eventually you want to have 6. So that when we fight drones, we can like even use 1 or 2. And see, we got 1. Excellent. So that helps. So we need to find 2 pieces of information. So you're looking for glowies. No idea where they are in here. I don't have any specific memory of this exact map. Like, I've done the story arc, but, you know, gosh, that was probably 7 months ago or something with Silver Phoenix. So, it's a long time and I don't really remember it. It was really interesting. I was grumbling about some mission the other day in it was a mission I did with Silver Phoenix, Shadow Shard, and I was grumbling about it. I can't remember what I said, that I didn't like this one mission, whatever it was, and I grumbled about it. And one of my supergroup mates was like, "You run missions, like not you don't just use the architect and then go off and do incarnate trials." And I was like, "No, I do all the story arcs. I think some of them don't." And you know, I've said this before. I've seen high level members of my guild with like hardly any badges, and my guess is the badges they do have are like the ones you grind for, and not things like just for fun badges. Like they get the explorer badge you need, coupled with the history badge you need, coupled with some other badge you need to get an accolade that gives you plus 10 endurance. But that's it. They don't do the rest of the exploration in that zone because it's not related to a badge. So, as I've said many times, they're playing on a whole other level from me. And it's fine. There's nothing wrong with doing it that way. It's just not how I played. I mean, you couldn't play the game the way they play it when I started. And I'm still playing it the way people used to play it when launch happened. And for a long time I thought that that meant that maybe I'm, shall we say, not as good at the game as they are, in a sense of like they're more hardcore than I am. But having talked to them a lot over the last couple weeks about, you know, things that they do versus what I do, they're the ones who said that I'm the hardcore one, right? Playing on hard mode with SOs and not using sets and not using accolades, and like playing the actual missions and not just going into an architect mission that's designed to be farmed, but actually playing the fights for real. And they actually think that's hard mode. So, I mean, I guess it is compared to what they do, but like I don't consider this that hard. I mean, Nosferatu was brutal, but I mean, yeah, he's a +3 elite boss, and he just so happened to have a suite of abilities that these are both lieutenants. I'm just making sure they're not bosses here. He just so happened to have a suite of abilities that essentially were very difficult for me to counter, right? And in particular, the combination of his resistance, his speed of regeneration, and the fact that he could heal, and he was able to hit so much. It's sick to hit, because he was constantly hitting me. Even when I had 3 and 4 Lux running, he was hitting me. Just that combo, it's just kind of like an Achilles heel for this character. And one of the things you have to realize when you're playing City of Heroes, and not be too proud to admit, especially if you're going to solo everything, and especially if you're going to do it on hard mode with just SOs, is that every single character, every archetype, every power set has an Achilles heel. Whether it's, Involn that has an explicit Achilles heel of Psi, or whether it's Super Reflexes, whose Achilles heel is anything that's highly accurate, right? Or anything that debuffs your accuracy enough to make you stand in there, right? And I mean, that's bad for everybody, but it's especially bad for Super Reflex, because Super Reflex relies very heavily on being missed, and you have to put the enemies down really fast in order to be missed, right? In other words, if these guys stand in there and get 25 swings at me, they're going to hit, and they're going to hit several times, so you've got to put them down fast. Now this guy, look at this, even with focused accuracy, watch the 2-hit, 27%, even with focused accuracy, because he's got shields around him. So we'll go ahead and take a buff. That puts us up to 50%, half chance. Also, for my character, martial arts, right? Oh, that was a mistake. I guess it didn't matter. I hadn't hidden, but it didn't matter because of the drone. For martial arts, Super Reflex, one of the things that kills you with that combo is if you're fighting accurate bad guys who do smashing resistance, have smashing resistance, right? Because now you're going to stand in there forever against them, and they're going to be accurate and hit you, and they're going to resist your attacks, right? Which means you have to take a longer time to kill them. So, all of those things can contribute, and every character has an Achilles heel. Every character has a weakness, something that they're not as good at, right? So, for example, Silver Phoenix, Vajalox were a big Achilles heel for her. This character, it was Nosferatu. Sometimes the metal things that are resistant to lethal, right? Anything with a high accuracy that has nasty effects is brutal to her because she will be hit, right? Unlike Super Reflex where you might be missed, she's going to get hit every time because she has no defense, 2%, right? But every character has weaknesses, right? If you're a controller, your Achilles heel are guys that are resistant or immune to Mez powers. If you're a defender, right, you have guys that debuff you so much that your buffing ability doesn't even do anything, right? No, are these two bosses? Yes. Okay, so we're gonna fight them. So these are two mesmerists. All right. Instant healing. Build up. Assassinate. And I'm gonna placate the other guy. Wow, look at that. Huge amount of damage from one hit. That's why you gotta be careful, right? They can kill you in 2 hits. So every character has an Achilles heel. Our mastermind will have some, right? Like anything that wipes out the pets is gonna be brutal to her, and there will be things that do that. Early on, especially when you don't have a lot of pets, right? Later on, you get, I think you get 3 pets from the low power, 2 pets from the secondary power, the second best power, and then 1 pet, like a boss pet. So you end up with like essentially 3 minions, 2 lieutenants, and a boss as pets. And but stuff that has the weakness of those pets or is invulnerable to the attacks of those pets is going to give a mastermind fits. Right, and it may be that the demon mastermind has trouble against something that the Beastmaster mastermind wouldn't have any trouble with. Just like it may be that a dark defender has trouble against something that a force field defender wouldn't have trouble with. And so every character type has some villains, some bosses, some even minions that are an Achilles heel for that character. And you just have to accept that that's true and either get help or lower the mission difficulty or make sure you've got sets or something to offset that Achilles heel. Man, the damage these guys can take. Was he? Oh, he was +4, that's one. No, he's only +3. So, I don't know. Alright, so we've been down here. We've got to find the last glowy. So, yeah, one of the things that's important to know is who has your weakness, who has your Achilles heel, right? What am I missing here? I feel like there's space down here that hasn't been explored, but I don't really see anything on the map. Well, I don't know, guys. Let's look around up here. No, we can't go up. I feel like we should be able to go up. Yeah. Those are just Rickety. Ah, there is a hostage here, so he's probably got the last piece of information. And he does. We got an enhancement. Well, the second one we've gotten in a long time. Alright, so we're going to head out. We'll take a look at the clue. And the clue says... It's a restructurist. He says, base attack, nemesis, recent theft of biomorphic gel, transformation process, neurological alteration of human brain. Okay, so this is Nemesis trying to like keep himself alive using the biogel. According to Nosferatu, he's pretty much just a brain and armor anyway. So, he says, I've been looking into Nemesis and Cray. Cray may be under assault from all sides, but they're still trying to run a business, so when Lockhart Aerotech had to be split up, guess who bought them up? That's right, Cray Industries. We now know that Nemesis was interested in Cray's mind alteration technology, so I did some digging and found out that Nemesis had already infiltrated Cray and used the buyout of Lockhart to cover a transfer of a lot of data. I want you to find out what Nemesis wanted from Cray. So now we're going to defeat a base leader and his men, and that's going to be tough at +3, because the Cray are one of the guys, besides Nosferatu, the Cray are one of the groups that do kind of have our weakness in the sense that the tanker guys are really resistant to lethal. I mean, they're like 2/3 resistant. And they're going to be more like 3/4 resistant at +3. So this could be really tough. We'll have to see. I really don't want to set things back on +2. Hopefully we won't have to. Let me see, are these missions 43? Or what level are they? 44? They're 45, okay. We started the story arc at 44th level, but it shouldn't retain the level you were at the beginning of the arc. It should retain the level you were for each mission. There are some mini arcs where it retains your level for the mini arc, but that's only when like the contact gives you a mission and then you get 2 or 3 missions in a row without going back to the contact and you just keep doing missions. That's when it sometimes doesn't adjust if you level. But for regular story arcs it should, and it looks like it has. It does it by the mission rather than by the arc. The exception to that is if it's a level 40 to 45 arc, it used to be it wouldn't go above level 45. Now this is Nemesis in here. We're going to see if we can find the base leader and kill any snipers we find. I hear a glowy. Right there. We got a clue. Is this the gel? Fridge full of brains. Oh my god, that's gross. Find a clue to Nemesis' plan. Well, that might be the clue, I don't know. One of the reasons I'm not fighting everybody in here is because we've been going almost 25 minutes, and so I don't want to drag this out. This could be 5 floors, I don't know. I wish you knew ahead of time. See, it's only 2 floors, so I could have beat everybody up downstairs. But I didn't know going through, so I was like, well, it could be 5 floors. So I'll beat everybody up on this floor. But I don't want this to be like a 45-minute video. And I hear another clue. I hear a glowy, and it must be down there, though. See, it even tells you it's a laptop. That's super spoilerish. There's 2 guys. There must be a 3rd one somewhere wandering around. We don't need all these greens. We don't need all these reds. I'd like yellows. Is the 3rd guy in here? No. Alright. I'm assuming there's a boss somewhere, because we have to defeat the base leader. But he's not back here. Alright, well, we'll beat these guys up. Since I left a bunch of them alone downstairs, we'll beat them up in here. See, as you can see, Nemesis, nothing, right? These guys don't have my Achilles heel. I can fight +4, they're 49th level, where I can fight +4 Nemesis all day. No problem. By the way, guys, one of the things they had to deal with when they started allowing mission difficulties was the fact that when the game originally was set up, right, the highest level enemies either were 50 or 51. I think it was 51 because you could get +1 missions if you're level 50, right? You could get +1 enemies in missions. But they might not even have had that, right? They didn't have an algorithm in the game for creating enemies tough enough to be level 54, right? So one of the things they had to do when they created the mission difficulty and they allowed it to go up to like +2 and +3 and eventually +4 is they had to figure out, well, what's a level 54 enemy stats going to enable them to do, right? Their algorithm only went to 50 and they couldn't just make it go up, right? Because it's not necessarily directly linear every time, right? And so they had to actually do a bunch of fiddling with the numbers to try and get level 54s to be correct and to be similar to level 50 that a level 49 would be to a level 45. And so, and that's something that it took, my recollection is it took them some work. Are you kidding me? The base boss is just a minion? That's pretty disappointing. I wanted to fight another boss. So, I mean, some of the +4, what a +4 does, some of it's level independent, right? +4 has a certain percent resistance to you, and that percent is the same whether it's a level 9 against a level 13, or a level 20 against a level 24, or a level 50 against a 54. But there were some other things, if I remember right, that they had to play around with to get everything to work so that they were the correct difficulty. My recollection was that just using the regular +4 algorithm was not quite strong enough and had to be beefed up a little bit. Okay, now who else do I have to take out? Over there probably. Okay, there must be somebody else around here. Yep. I thought I took this guy out. I guess I didn't. There it is. So we completed the mission. And we contact Maxwell, who says, Artificial brains. Artificial brains. This makes sense, Tiger Shrike. I think I finally understand. Okay, so we pretty much always knew that Nemesis had heavily modified himself to survive the ravages of time. From Nosferatu we learned that what little there is left of him is dying. So what would Nemesis do? Every other part of his body has failed, replaced with an improved part that he built himself. If his brain was finally dying, he'd do the same. So he's going to try to make an artificial brain and to do an Arnim Zola and end up living inside of a computer, like the Captain America, what was it? The second one. Captain America, oh gosh. Not Civil War, but the one before that. And I'm blanking on the name. But the Captain America 2 movie where Arnim Zola was inside a computer. And that's what Nemesis is trying to do to himself. So we will pick the story up next time. Until then, I am Scrapperlock, and this has been City of Heroes on the Rebirth server.